Hey, this is Shaun with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast, powered by Go Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And today we have our 10 minutes of tennis, and we are going to do 10 tips in 10 minutes. Justin Yo, thank you for being here, Australian in Puerto Rico. But I think now you're kind of in Florida more these days, but I love the Go Tennis shirt. There's that too. So jumping right in, 10 tips. Today we're talking about overheads. And we're going to start with number one. Number one, read the play.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. Read the play. Hopefully this will help you this week. Read the play is basically trying to understand when an overhead is coming. I think a lot of players don't actually identify that. And so they're not getting ready early enough to get ready for the overhead so that they can get behind the ball versus letting it fly over their head because they weren't reading it's coming. So I tend to say to people, read the play, get ready for when it's coming.
I would call that predicting the future. I like that.
That's another good one.
Predict the future. Number two isn't much different. Maybe it's part of the same. Read the ball off the racket.
Yes, actually, it is a different one because read the play is seeing someone in trouble and know that it's coming, so that you're already starting to get ready for the overhead early. Read the ball off the racket actually helps you. Sometimes I tell people to close your right eye because your left eye is your depth perception. So you're reading the depth perception of the ball coming off the racket early. So that's a really important one. It's like playing baseball and softball, that as the bat strikes the ball is when you have milliseconds to identify, is it hitting center field, behind center field, or in front of center field, right? So that's where the contact to the racket is really important, to knowing how far back you've got to get behind this to ready for the overhead.
Got it. Sorry, but I should have seen that coming. Number three, turn first.
Yeah, so turn first. I see it too often that people are backing up backwards. And if you make it a good habit to turn your shoulders and turn first, you'll get into a better stance to get ready for tip number 4, move with a cross stance and a cross step. If you don't turn first, you struggle to get into the correct stance to move correctly to get ready for a decent overhead and generate power. So a cross stance, which is number 4, you've got to try to move in what they call the karaoke, or I call it cross step.
Yeah.
A lot of people say karaoke. I actually prefer to think cross step for the reason that you actually generate and use your cross step and learn front foot or back foot behind, so that you learn how to really generate in a decent stance for your overhead. And so learning the correct cross step is really important to generate a lot of power into your overhead.
Yeah, I would call that, I like to rename these evidently. 3 and 4, I'm just going to tell you to turn and run, because that's going to get that cross step going if you actually realize you're running back that direction. Number 5, get behind the ball.
Get behind the ball is to actually say to yourself, I'm going to allow myself to get really behind the ball, so that I can actually get myself in a good position to drive up into the overhead. Okay, because that goes into technically number 5 tip, which happens a lot for me, is I don't want to say it, but majority of the world calls it a smash. The Americans called it an overhead, and it's actually the worst thing you can say, because you don't want the ball over your head. You want to be behind the ball so you can drive it over your head, like drive a smash. So it's sometimes counterproductive, I guess is the word, is because, oh, I've got an overhead, so I'm waiting for the ball to get over my head. No, you want to be behind the ball before, so you can strike it over your head, but drive it forward. So it's I guess for the lower level people, it can get caught because they wait for the ball to get over their head, right? At the higher levels, they're actually already seeing it off the racket, and they're getting back behind the ball so they can drive the ball that is technically over their head when they drive it. So that's sort of why I like to say to people, smash it, because you can't smash it when it's over your head. You can smash it when it's in front of your head. So that's sort of why I was saying all of these things are setting up, ready to play, read the ball off the racket, turn first, move with a cross stance and cross step, so you really get yourself in position to drive into the smash versus waiting for the ball to get over your head.
So the overhead is the situation. I'm in a situation where the ball is about to go over my head. The shot that I'm going to hit is a smash.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I'll
that
take
way you're learning to, I grew up in Australia where if that ball went over your head, that my opponent felt like he was dead, in trouble, because I was going to crush it no matter what. So you learned very quickly to prepare, get ready, and just overhead after overhead, learn to crush it anywhere in the court. And my opponent, anytime it was above my head, he knew he was in trouble. So he better put it way, way past me. Otherwise, I was going to hammer it. So that's sort of why I'm trying to give you tips to get more prepared and more ready to give yourself every opportunity to smash that ball versus just give it an overhead, like I've seen with many people. And then that's tip. Next one is obviously focus on your feet. I see a lot of people not moving their feet enough while that ball is traveling. And it's the movement in your feet that's preparing you to not only drive up, but to be able to move while the ball's moving, because it's so high in the air. If it's wind or sun or spin, there's all these things that factor into being able to literally drive into that overhead, and your feet is what's positioning you. So I tell people, as long as that ball's moving, your feet are moving.
The ball's moving, feet are moving. We'll have to have its own, that'll have its own 10 tips right there.
There you go.
Use your back foot and loose grip tension. How do those two combine?
They combine because by getting back and driving into the back foot allows the right hip drive up into the overhead and drive the overhead. And then loose grip tension is keeping it nice and loose so you can ready for a snap. I've seen so many people, I'm snapping, but I'm almost ripping my shoulder apart and I'm not getting any drive. And it's purely because of too much grip tension. They're holding it too tight when they should be holding it loose. So I try to tell people, let's make sure the turn is there, the back foot's there, and the loose tension, and it gives you all these opportunities. The one I probably should have talked about too a little bit is left hand towards the ball. So you've got a good shoulder tilt, trophy stance up into the ball. The left hand tends to also keep your head up on the ball versus allowing your head to drop because your left arm dropped. So that sort of goes into the preparation as well, with back foot, loose grip tension, left hand towards the ball.
Left arm towards the ball. We'll call that tip number 8.5. So you ever get an extra one there.
There
Number 9, trunk rotation is key.
Yeah, so I seem to see people, they go to get ready, but they really don't turn the full trunk to the ball. They tend to be slightly open, and because of that, they can't get any trunk rotation. So they're really just snapping with their shoulder and their elbow. They're wondering why they're not getting any power, or they're not going to be able to put the ball anywhere they want. The trunk rotation really has to happen all the way around, so that allows then the full rotation when you're snapping towards the ball. So I see a lot of people say, yeah, I'm prepared, and I'm doing everything you said in those 5-8 tips, but really they're not. They've got to be fully rotated, and you've got to be comfortable with that while you're moving so that you can drive that whole rotation with the back hip into the overhead.
And last but not least, number 10, reach and snap for power. You already mentioned snap, but now we're adding reach.
Yeah, some people let the ball drop too far. And because they let the ball drop too far, they don't really get a full reach and a full snap. If you think about pronation and snap, you need full stretch of pronation to get really a full snap. And so I always tell people, make sure you feel like you're reaching for the ball, so that the last thing that can really happen if you're reaching for the ball is the snap. So you really feel like you have to reach. If you're not and you're waiting, then you're eventually not going to be getting the full power of the overhead. And so I'm trying to mostly give a lot of these tips to make a really effective, powerful overhead versus just, hey, I'm hitting an overhead.
Or in your terms, hitting a smash.
Hitting a smash. That's it, babe.
Just
If everyone smashes from here on, that is awesome.
We're now calling it a smash. I like it. Justin Yo, thank you so much. This has been 10 tips in 10 minutes. We'll see you again next week. Thank you, sir.
No tennis, that's it.